That internet, we'll call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Snyder to do the opening.
Heavenly Father, we come this morning, do county business, just pray for wisdom. We just thank you for this nation we live in, this state and this county. As the business of the state goes on in Santa Fe, we just pray that your will would be done. We just watch what happens and pray that we would have a voice in all that is going on in our state and our nation. We just thank you for this moisture we're having this winter. We need it so much, and we thank you. We pray all this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Commissioner Hamlin, please, the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
I left the minutes.
So,
Did we get them in the email? I don't know.
Yeah, we did have the minutes in the email. Can we approve them on that?
yeah.
I didn't put it in there.
So, approval of the agenda, you guys had a chance to kind of look it over?
I don't see any problems with the agenda, unless, what do you Kathy, you see anything on the agenda change?
No, I don't believe so. I think we can, there's a couple of things, but we can just address them as they come along and move forward.
Did you have a change for the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I think that we probably don't need, I would remove the flooding plain ordinance at this point, since we still have some more investigation to do, and it's, the next motion for it would be to publish, and we're not there yet. So if you're okay with that, Bill?
Item N,
Yes, sir.
remove item N under action items.
Yes, sir.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, to approve the agenda with that change.
I move to approve the agenda with the removal of item N.
We have a motion to remove item 10 from the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. So I need a motion, I'll ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Of the minutes.
We were at the agenda.
We just did that with item N.
Oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry.
The minutes were sent to you electronically. The paper version, I didn't put in here. We do have that electronic.
I read them in my house, I didn't have a problem.
I read through them and I'm kind of perusing them again. I didn't see any problems with the minutes.
Yeah?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and approval, all in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to public comment. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome your suggestions and want to hear your concerns. This is not a question and answer period. Speakers will be limited to 2 minutes. The county commission is not able to act on matters discussed during public comment. Speakers are requested to state their name for the record. And I'd just like to point out to everybody that we do have a 2-minute limit, and we gotta try to move on with our deal. I'm gonna kind of hold everybody's feet to the fire a little bit on the 2 minutes. And, if we get into a situation where it warrants more discussion, we'll go ahead and do that. But for the most part, we're gonna stick to this 2-minute thing. So, do we have any public comment today?
My name is Brandon Cadelli, and I'm very concerned about this county. I hear a lot from my clients, friends, and family. I fear for my children and my grandchildren, and what they're going to have to live through in the future. And I kind of scoff and laugh, and I explain to them, just look at the changes that you've seen in the past 5 years, and I ask them, what changes will you see in the next 5 years? Then I remind them things. I remind them that they are living in it now, and I see the light bulb go off in their head. Changes are coming a lot faster today, whether you want to believe it or not. All of who live here in Catron County are the enemy. They want us out of here. They want us to stack and pack us in the city. This is a part of Agenda 21, and it's very true and very real. The real question is, whom do you serve, the Creator or the created? We all here worship something. If you worship the created, you worship something God created. We use our energy and invest it in worshiping money, cell phones, beauty. We worship entertainment. We worship the environment. We worship sports or the players. We worship politics or the president. We worship animals. We even worship our pets. If people cared as much for their souls, this community, this world would be a much better place. We worship creative things with a religious devotion, and what happens? It becomes idolatry. We have replaced the Creator with the created. We all need to remember that the Father, Yah, is in control. He has given us all a chance through His spilled blood of His Son, Jesus Christ. None of us knows how much time we have. Just look at what's going on in China. What's being reported, the death rate is 1.2%, that's fake. The real report, as of 3 days ago, is 5%. And if you do, the death toll in China is over 250,000. That's coming here, into the state. They've already reported it, and that's what they're doing. And that's why these military bases are being set up all over the country. And it just brings me to a question of why they want to move the FEMA building up to the airport.
Thank you, Mr. Gandel. Anyone else? No more comments? That'll get us to our department and agency reports. Forest Service?
All right. Good morning. I'm Shiloh Norton. I'm the District Fire Management Officer here with the Forest Service. Just to give you an update, what we have planned, the Rancho Grande subdivision, we have 300 acres of broadcast burning that we want to continue. We got half of it done last year around the airport. This sits right south of that unit. It was part of that unit. We just didn't have the opportunity to do it last year, so we're going to try to finish that up as soon as we get an opportunity. And it was looking like we may be doing it as early as end of the month, and then it started raining again, so we'll just play that by ear. And we'll be communicating with all the folks out at Rancho Grande and all those that may be impacted with smoke. So if you have any concerns with that, or if you know of anybody that does, have them get a hold of me. The two other projects that we have that are ready to go is the Sheep Basin project and the Moraga project, which is 2,000 acres for Sheep Basin and 3,000 for Moraga. And those are prescribed burns that are planned as soon as it dries out enough to implement. So we'll be trying to do those this spring. The slash pit is still under the injunction, so we're not allowed to burn that. We will continue to pile that and let people put their fuel in there, but we're just, we'll wait until the injunction lifts before we get permission to burn that, and then we'll try to catch up with that stuff. As far as timber contracts go, talking to Mark, got some notes from him. We have no news on the injunction at this time. We're still waiting for a decision from the court. Right now, the Forest Service has asked for the injunction to be dissolved and has filed a motion saying that everything is completed. And Arizona is still operating. They've also received a notice of intent to sue from the Wild Earth Guardians. And then the injunction not only impacts our timber mill and the timber sales, but also the commercial fuel wood. And so the district's preparing timber sales and commercial fuel wood areas. And so hopefully when the injunction lifts, we can open up sales for both of those. And then I'll let Aaron talk to range.
Good morning, Aaron Baldridge, I'm the range staff here.
Eric, real quickly, Shiloh, I'm sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to, the court case is in the Ninth Circuit Court, right? That's where the decision is going to come from as far as whether they decide to continue the injunction or to do away with it. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay, and I know that there are some timber harvesters that they're still harvesting on the Gila, but they're not in the wolf pack. So the biggest problem is actually, the suit is actually over the wolf pack, is that right? No.
It's Mexican spotted owl habitat. So
Yeah, I meant the owl pack, yeah.
So there was a list that was generated immediately afterwards, and a lot of those projects were put on the list, and it was taken to the court, and they ruled in favor of some and not in favor of others. And that's the only thing that we're able to work on at this point. And so we've put together other lists of projects, and the rest of it is waiting with the judge to
You know, your clearing and your burn areas look great. I think it's really healthy. Those areas look healthy. That's just my opinion. I'm just one guy. But, you know, it's really sad that you're being sued by an organization that does nothing productive for us anywhere, except they stop this, and then you guys all along had done the documentary work over the spotted owl groups and stuff as you were doing different works, and they know that. It's just they found the technicality. Thank you. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
That's all right. Aaron Baldridge, I'm the range staff here. A couple things in the range world. We did complete a NEPA for the Black Bog allotment and the Lower Plaza allotment, and implementing those right now. State line NEPA project down on Glenwood also got finished up in, I believe it was in December, and they're getting their new permits and everything issued on those. Similar to the discussion on the injunction, so back in 2019, the Forest Service received a notice of intent to sue in regards to grazing on the riparian areas, all tied back to the 1998 settlement agreement. And so this included both the Gila and the ABRS. Here recently, the Forest Service received an actual lawsuit in regards to that, and so we've notified permittees and working through that process right now as far as information gathered for the attorneys. I think that's all I have for any questions.
That would be on the piping of springs and moving waters away from springs that are on the permits and stuff.
No, more claiming that during this 1998 settlement agreement, the riparian areas along in this area, the San Francisco and the Tularosa were to be excluded, and so the claim is that we're not truly excluding those. And so we do have a lot of good factual information. Been working with the permittees on this for a long time, and we're feeling pretty good about it. But it's just one of those things that we're going to be going through. So,
So,
Commissioner Head?
I'm assuming you guys are kind of watching the House Memorial 59. We're hoping that Adam is. It's just a memorial, but they're urging the Forest Service to study and analyze the impact on global warming of forest thinning and burning projects in New Mexico. I know it's just a house memorial, but usually it starts off there and then it ramrods. And they're really looking at the effect that prescribed burns have on quote-unquote global warming. If you're not aware of it, I know they just dropped this memorial, I think 2 days ago. I'm not going to start watching it.
Can I add something to that? We're also planning on having a fire preparedness meeting next month. I believe it's 12th, is that right, Joyce?
It's the 11th, I believe. It's the day before the commission meeting.
Yeah. And so we've sent out invites to all of the local county folks that are involved in fire and that kind of stuff. So hopefully we can have good representation, and we've been doing this for several years, but try to get all the partners together at one time and make sure everybody's on the same page, get ready for fire season.
And that's here in reserve.
It'll be right here.
Okay.
It went pretty good here last year. That was a good meeting.
Thank you.
Bill, you're up. Management report.
Not a lot to report right now. The legislative session obviously is in full swing. Still waiting to see how counties come out of it. I did go to a coalition of counties preparation meeting. About a week ago when I went up there to testify on a couple of bills, but they do a really good job. And as commissioners, I would tell you, anytime you can go up there and be a part of one of those meetings would be a good thing. Bucky and I missed the meeting on Tuesday, but I felt that Tuesday was a very productive trip, and just to show you, we went up there to testify against a bill that was attempting to kill the cap entity, and they tabled it. So instead of just giving up and saying, well, we're not going to get there, we went and hunted down committee members, and we actually got the committee chair on that, and Bucky got 3 to 5 minutes of his time, and it was well spent. And that afternoon, they killed it. They decided to table it. They didn't want to deal with it, and that was Commissioner Allred did a very good job on that with Representative Lente. It was well worth the trip, and I would say we have to keep on top of things, because they like to push us aside at Catherine County. They definitely like to say to think that we don't matter, but we do. We're in the process. The county employees are going to move the fair building. We didn't have an interested private property, the old Quonset hut building, and we're going to pick it up and move it, most likely over by the waste disposal area, and use it as a storage facility. So we'll try to get that done. We'll be dealing with the purchase of the fair building, the addition that we're going to do here in just a few minutes. Other than that, things are going well. I think we're going to get extra funding. We got some Senator Ramos got us some money for road equipment that we're going to be able to utilize, and what it does, it helps us use our SRS funds and to actually get more bang for our buck. It's really glad that he got that for us. We're also going to get some more funding to deal with construction, to deal with the heating systems for the road crews buildings, and make improvements in the road crew areas, and a new fuel system for the Kamado facility. So we did fairly well in the legislative session, and a good part of that, I mean, that really goes to good representation by Senator Ramos and Representative Armstrong. They did a very good job for us. It's not over, but there's just 1 week left, so that was very good. I stand for questioning.
Thank you, Bill. Questions?
thank you for going to Seneca. I do have to tell you that the times that I was up there, I had several legislators comment on how it was nice to see the county manager from Catron County testify and how eloquent you were, so I appreciate that.
And to bug them.
They didn't say that.
That's okay.
They might have thought that, but I appreciate you going up there when the rest of us are planning to go.
You know, that's an interesting thing, and I would encourage anybody to go up to the Roundhouse and go to the committees and hear that. But one thing I want to point out here, in 6 of the years that I've been a commissioner, 5 or 6, a person that I see all the time at the Roundhouse and working for Catron County, in their face, letting them know we're here, letting them know that we count, and that's Anita. Anita's up there and she works really hard in those committees. She's worked hard on the gun laws, she worked hard last year, and we're lucky to have her up there doing that.
Thank you.
You want to know something about the Roundhouse or the committees and which committee, the Judiciary Committee, the Legislative, the Finance, there's your man right there. She can tell you all.
Thank you.
All right. Finance report, I guess, is Connie here with us today, or we got somebody to?
No, as far as, if we split it up, as far as the finance report, everything, I'll be reporting for finance side of it. And you can see it says treasurer's report, so anything, you should have the paperwork for Connie's treasurer's report. Any questions for the, any questions for the treasurer, you're gonna have to,
Maybe you can answer.
Get with her.
because The correction fee is negative 30,000 and the
Yes.
Apache Creek is negative 60,000.
yes.
Please tell me there's a reason why.
Correction fee is just, we're gonna have to move money again, bottom line. It's the expenditures of it. The Apache Creek, that was, it's been budgeted. We're just waiting for the money to come in. What you're looking there is that, the actual like budget side of it, so, they have grant money coming in that will cover that.
Is that for the building?
I believe so,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's just.
Yeah, though, that's fine. Corrections is just corrections. We're always gonna have a problem with that. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And as far as just the finance side of it, I gave you guys copies of the departments. Yeah, what that is that's the budgets, and it's just kind of showing you what was budgeted at the beginning of the year, the fiscal year, what the expenses are with each department, where we're at, who's in red. I wouldn't get too excited about the red because it's just a matter of, doing local state bars and moving money from one line item to another line item to cover it. Joyce and I and Connie sat down, and what we've agreed to do, instead of trying to do it every single meeting, we're just gonna do it once a quarter. At the end of the quarter, we'll bring a resolution to you guys if we have to move money, and so it's just not a habitual thing all the time. But, other than that, it's just, you can look at it, and if you have any questions or whatever. This is the beginning of the budget process. We're trying to get a handle on it this year, so the beginning of this next fiscal year, we're on top of it. And so this is just kind of keeping you guys in the loop of what's going on, expenditures and stuff.
So, this special ed student, just give me a quick refresher, okay? You have your claims, judgments, settlements, and amount spent 23 red and 37 four. Can you help me out with that?
Is that on it? Is that,
This is the reserve airport. The first sheet, it's negative 23,130.74, and it's, under the reserve airport.
that is, on those right there, we're waiting for reimbursement.
Okay.
It's grants and we're just waiting for reimbursements to come in.
And that's coming in.
And then it will,
And also on the maintenance, the red, 2,155.
yeah, that's just because nothing was budgeted for it, so we're just gonna have to, yeah, I'll move one line item to another line item and get it budgeted. There's local bars and there's state bars, what they call local bars with the DFA. Local bars, I don't need DFA approval. It's just basically moving moving your budget amount from one line item to another line item within that specific department. Once we have to move actual money, then we're talking to State Bar and it has to be DFA approved, and that's when I bring you a resolution.
I'm sure I'll have a lot of questions on this.
I'm
but
sure
I'll
you
ask
will too,
later.
and
I
I'm
won't
expecting
take
your
up our
phone
time.
call. I'm expecting your phone call. So, yeah, other than that, and like I said, any questions on the actual treasurer report, you'll have to get with her. Okay?
Well, Adrian, I'm gonna need a little help here, a little advice. Maybe we have a finance report, treasury report, and we have her report here, but I guess my question is do we approve it or just move on without?
I would, Mr. Chairman, I think based on what you have, I would advise that you acknowledge the report, but not approve it.
Mr. Green, I know you're gonna be away for a few days, but somewhere down the road here, I would like for us to sit down with the treasurer Shipley and see if we can't come together and get her here. We'll make this convenient for her during the meeting, we'll put the meeting, we'll put her up in front of the meeting and time constraint or anything, but we really need her here to give us some explanation on this. And I know I would appreciate it if she would just come and spend a few minutes with us and help us understand it. And then that makes it a little bit easier to
I will visit with Ms. Shipley.
I would, and I want our tone to be a different. I don't want it to be all right. So I guess I'll ask for a motion to acknowledge the report that we did receive it and move on. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll say.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All approved?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I know I'm out of turn, but I just would like to echo your sentiment that just as a member of the public, I would appreciate having someone here to answer those questions as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that comment, and we acknowledge that, and we'll pass that along, and we'll pass all of these sentiments along for the good, for the good. All right, that gets us to discussion section of our agenda, legislative issues.
I did, that's just on there because the legislature's here. We've kind of already discussed legislature. Some big things that are happening right now is the gun bill, and then the overall finance bill has not been approved yet. And how it affects us, what affects us directly is the small county allotment, adjustment, however you want to call that, which is close to, give or take a little around $500,000. And without that, we can't open the doors. So it's something that we keep our eye on and try to visit with legislators and let them know that it's very important that allotment still goes out to the small counties. That's all I have right now. The gun bill is a big thing, the red flag gun bill, and it's most likely going to pass.
It's supposed to
Today.
be on the House floor today, but I can't find what time. And that's one of the lovely things that they've been doing in Santa Fe is they've been not very consistent with the times. Like when they debated this Tuesday,
Well,
they were supposed to debate it at 2, but they waited till 5 so that they get the kids from one of the private schools to come and testify. For
there's been several instances where they, like with the cap entity, where they have moved committee meetings because they know people are coming up to testify, and they wait until the last minute the night before and move the committee meeting, and then you're up there, you don't have a forum. So I don't appreciate the way handling their meeting schedules.
You know, Commissioner Hand, with you, just one of the things you said that really hit home with me was the process in the red flag bill, the Senate Bill 5, was that they completely bypassed the Judiciary Committee. Tell folks
It
why.
should have gone to the judiciary just because it has constitutional issues, is that right? That's how I understood it. And Representative Egoff, who's the Speaker of the House, didn't think that it needed to go through judiciary because in judiciary, they would have looked at it a lot closer than House Public Affairs. Because House Public Affairs is basically a stamp yes or no, whatever the speaker wants. They limited the testimony on Tuesday. They had 30 minutes, 1 minute each, or 30 minutes for and against. And that was it. And the representatives debated for, I think that bill was debated about 3 hours, but it was party line vote. And it should have gone through judiciary, and I did try and reach out to some of the committee members and to Representative Egoff that it should go through judiciary, but he said no, wasn't going to.
Man, that's the great thing about our legislature, is if you guys got passionate about something, in Arizona, you have to make appointments to see these representatives. In New Mexico, you don't. So all you gotta do is go sit on their doorstep in their office. And whether they're in your district or not, you know, you have a right as a New Mexican to go and say, hey, you know, you're voting on something that's gonna affect me. I don't like it, or I do like it, or let them know. It's a good thing.
Are they gonna,
Go ahead.
are they gonna get Senator Ramos to vote for this bill?
Rommel, it's already gone to the Senate. He voted against
He
it.
voted against it.
Yes, he voted against it. It was 20 to 22, 24, 2022? What was the vote?
2022.
2022. It passed by 2 votes.
But he voted against
He voted against it. I think he knew he would probably have gotten killed if he voted for it.
And he took some flat for voting against it.
He did.
We have to
it.
point
He's
that
got a
out.
way of that.
But at the end of the day, Senator Ramos and Representative Armstrong are gonna stand up for the Constitution. It's not a big deal.
And Mr. Chairman, we have a resolution right here opposing it. We're sure it's last minute at this point with the legislature, but this is later on the agenda, and we can adopt this and try and get it off to our representatives as soon as possible.
One goes to the clerk.
Sorry, Sherry. All right.
So it's been a couple days since I checked on this, but there was also a bill being considered to raise a gas tax by 30
I got
cents.
you.
They got
It did,
killed.
okay, okay,
14 to 1.
okay.
Yeah, and we still have a little bit of common sense up there.
Okay.
I do have to tell you that New Mexico cattle growers rallied the rural people to show up, and you can see a line of them out the door to testify, because they let everybody testify.
And they got a lot of calls.
They
They
got
were
a
so
lot of
tired,
calls.
they were so tired of listening to the calls.
Rural New Mexico stood up for no new taxes, so I was surprised it got defeated as much as it did, but there were still some common sense legislators during that bill.
All right. Wolf crisis, state agency changes.
I guess that would be me.
I mean, you're going to be the go-to on that. We've had some changes in the state agency. I think that we're going in a bad direction. One of the reasons I want it on here is because we have our WOOF guy that was promised to have new equipment when we met with them in here, when we discussed the MOU.
In fact,
They told Cliff that they would get him that, and they still haven't. And so that's a concern on my part, and I just thought that both Anita and Cliff have been working on this. I thought maybe they would enlighten us all on WOOF stuff.
I was very clear in telling John Oakley that I felt like it was extortion, that we had to sign the MOU for Jess to have the adequate equipment to find out where these wolves were. We signed the MOU with them, and Jess still has not received it. So I'm not sure if we need to write a letter or call up Oakleaf, or at the next executive board meeting with the Wolf head people, whatever that committee is called, and demand that he get his telemetry. That's why we signed that MOU, is to get the telemetry for Jess.
Well, it was one of the main components is my
And the first excuse Oakleaf gave me was they were still waiting for the equipment to come in. That was right at like a month after we signed it, and they sent it back, and the team accepted us. So I called him up and I asked him, where's his telemetry? And he said, well, we're still waiting for it, So I think that they're gonna continue to give us a bunch of crap before they finally give him the telemetry. That's a concern right there. The other one is Wildlife Services. We've always had a good relationship with Wildlife Services. If you remember, in December, Rod Gosnell came to the meeting and introduced himself, and in my opinion, made a bunch of empty promises to us, because I'm finding out now that what he said he was gonna do as far as the direction of Wildlife Services and helping the county is not what he's actually moving forward with. Stephen Gomez, our government trapper, was gonna be here today, but he's out on a wolf investigation. Some of the changes that Mr. Gosnell has made, one of the biggest ones is that if a government trapper in any of the counties that are impacted by the wolf owns a cow, he cannot participate in the wolf investigation. They're saying it leaves the perception of being biased. And my argument back is bias goes both ways. Why would I trust a wildlife biologist to investigate a cow that's been killed on my ranch when his job depends on the success of the Mexican wolf? So bias goes both ways. He hasn't put that in writing, but that is what he's told Stephen. So that means that Matt Ellis in Socorro County and the trapper in Sierra County cannot do wolf investigations. Those wolf investigations will have to be done by Stephen. So in addition to Stephen doing investigations in Catron, Sierra, and Socorro County, he's also supposed to do whatever John Oakleaf asked him to do. So if John Oakleaf calls him up and says, I need you to help me do a wolf count, and the answer that I can't get back is, if I call him and say, I have a cow that was killed, Jess is unavailable, I need him to come and investigate, and at the same time Oakleaf calls him and says, I need you to help me with the wolf count, where's his priority? There's not a priority set there. They had an employee staff meeting a couple of weeks ago. Stephen said that in that meeting, they're gonna take him away from doing the wolf investigations, and they're gonna get a non-lethal wildlife biologist to help with the investigations, which we already know wildlife biologists with Fish and Wildlife Services have not been honest as far as helping our ag producers. And they're also gonna hire range riders. That's their goal, that's what they're pushing. Mr. Gosnell did say that he has met several times with Defenders of Wildlife and Fish and Wildlife Services. So right there, meeting with Defenders of Wildlife, his direction is not to remain unbiased and to work with Fish and Wildlife and with the county. His direction is more towards the wolf program. He did make the comment in the meeting that he doesn't care what the counties think. He's gonna do what he wants, because counties come and go. The problem that puts us in is if we pull our contract with Wildlife Services, Stephen loses his job. And then we don't have him, because right now he's still gonna help us, but I don't know how soon before they hire a wildlife biologist. So down in our action items, I'm hoping that we can get a letter written to send to Jeff Whitty with the New Mexico Department of Ag. He is aware of some of the changes that have been going on. I've kept in close contact with him. So that's the reason why the state agency changes is on the discussion as well as on the action items. Now, Wildlife Services has always been a good partner with Catron County. When it was under the direction of Alan Mays was very, very unbiased. He worked both ways. This new guy that came in, I mean, his first meeting with us, pretty much everything he said was not the truth. And that's concerning for me. I may be aggressive in this fight against him, but I'm not gonna look the livestock producers in the eye in 6 months and say, you know, I had my concerns. I'm sorry you lost 20 cows, but now we're gonna fight it. And if I have to apologize to him later, then I will. But right now, I think that Catherine County needs to be on the offense, and we need to just move forward with making sure that our livestock producers aren't impacted even more than they already are.
Commissioner Snyder?
I don't know what we do. Wildlife Services does the investigations, so we're pretty much stuck with that. They won't recognize our guy. We're spending money investigating wolf kills that nobody recognizes but us. Wildlife Services does the investigations.
They do
I don't know
accept
what we're
Jess,
gonna do.
they do accept Jess's investigations. In the past, they didn't, but they do now.
Wildlife Services does, but nobody else looks at it.
Fish and Farm Service Agency does.
Yeah.
Because I asked them, if we lose our government trapper and there's an investigation and somebody submits a compensation claim with Jess's documentation, will you accept it? And they said yes. I don't know about the coexistence council or that executive roundtable thing that we're part of. I don't know if they'll accept it. If they don't, then that's something we need to address with them. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of Jess's investigative procedures that he does, that's what Fish and Wildlife Services and Wildlife Services do. They use some of his criteria. So if they're not gonna accept what he does, then they're gonna have to change what they do. And that's, I'm afraid that's what they're trying to do, is to try and make sure that they're not, that the compensation claims are decreased instead of continually increasing.
So they're, all they care about is reintroducing this wolf. They don't care how many cows get killed.
It's all,
That's just part of the deal. That's their only goal, is to reintroduce this wolf and to save this wolf. And we're not gonna change that. That's what their job is. I don't know what, you know, we need to get numbers from all these ranchers. And we need to make sure they get paid through the farm services. We need to make sure they all get paperwork in. Because Fish and Wildlife Services do not have the numbers from the farm services. And that's a different agency, and they don't even bother to go get it. They don't care.
which belies that point. We're fighting against a stacked deck here. And I'm not saying we stop fighting. We have to fight. We do everything we can. You go down swinging, even if you go down. But we do have to fight. I agree with Cliff, because I went to one of his meetings, and their point is not as, well, let's see how we make it better on the ranchers. Their point is, how do we get the wolf out there with the least amount of resistance?
Yeah.
And if it,
I mean, I think they truly feel bad that these ranchers are suffering, but they don't feel bad enough to get the wolves away from them, you know, because their main goal is that wolf, and the collateral damage is just part of doing business, and they're.
So in the end, and this could be on the record from my point of view, don't you feel that in the end, either we lose ranching permits, or ranchers are gonna go out there and start killing wolves, and people are either gonna stand with them, or they're gonna go down?
Well, they already missed that opportunity.
You think?
Because we don't, the ranchers are law-abiding citizens. These people are the salt of the earth. And they don't go violate laws, because that's not what you do. I talked to them years ago. You people are gonna have to save yourselves, because the county can't. I think the county, yeah, as a government, we can't really do anything but talk. And the federal government is in control of this, and we can't stop them. And the people that need to stand up have been so traumatized by this, and they're afraid to lose their permits. But they're gonna lose their permits anyway, because they can't.
Because it won't be working.
They won't be able to run cattle. I've talked to these guys, and their big concern is, well, the wolves are killing more grown cattle in New Mexico, and they can't figure that out. And I said, well, they're big bodies, and you can find that dead cow. The cows are gone.
Right.
And I've told them your wolves prefer beef, guys, and that's the bottom line, and you guys can't get past that. It's like we can't get past the fact that the federal government owns 80% of our county. They can't get past the fact that the wolves like beef. But that's collateral damage, and they'll tell us how bad they feel, but they won't do anything about that. They will do the best they can.
They're gonna hire a guy to go around with a trash can and bang around the herds or something. A hazer.
Well, they think the hazer does good. They want us to fund it. They want us to put some money in. But after I've thought about that, I was going to try to push for that, but I've decided I don't want to push for that, because they're gonna work for Wildlife Services. Anita doesn't trust Wildlife Services. They will answer directly to the IFT, and I don't trust them. Bucky probably doesn't trust either one. So they're already, we don't trust these people. But I'm thinking we're already funding Jess. But I don't see that the range riders, they think the range riders do all this good, but all we're doing is moving the wolves to somebody else's permit. So one permit gets some relief, but now somebody else gets it. So I don't.
Because that goes to your point of, they like cows. Cows are slower than elk. Cows are not
These
as.
wolves prefer beef, that's the bottom line.
So what?
And, the ranchers, I don't know, they missed their opportunity. They should have been shooting wolves a long time, It's a terrible thing to say, but they should have been shooting these wolves the day they let them out, not 20 years later. You guys realize we've been at this since 1998? I was telling these ranchers in 1998, they better shoot these dang wolves, because you're not gonna survive this. But none of them would do it, because they're law-abiding citizens. They're Christian law-abiding citizens, the biggest part of it, and you don't do that. Even though your government is going to destroy. So, these ranchers won't even shoot these wolves when they could legally do it. I don't know what there's no answer to this, other than these ranchers' days are numbered. If they don't start defending themselves against these wolves, they're not going to survive it. And somebody's got to be willing to go to court and fight this all the way. They need to be doing fundraisers to pay good attorneys, because that's what they need, is good attorneys, not all the rest of them. Because they need to do what they need to do, but how do instead, I I think they've all depended on the county to somehow do something, and I don't know, there's nothing we can do.
Well, we have fairly limited resources ourselves. Okay, well, we do have a problem there, so.
Oh,
Good. Can I have one thing?
real quick, you know, I just want to point out, you know, this is a hard thing, because, you know, when you listen to the studying and to the knowledge that Anita has in this, what she knows about these people and the way they are, what they're doing. And you listen to Cliff over time, you know, and I keep hearing that it's federal land. Who owns the federal land? You know, we pulled out of a forest planning thing because the Forest Service in Cibola County decided that they were going to treat us like all the rest of the people, defenders of wildlife. The hell are they? They don't have a dog in this hunt here like we do, or the Center of Biological Diversity. They don't have any skin in this game here. They go down the river, lock the river off, tell everybody stay the hell off of it. We want wild and scenic. Well, what's wild and scenic? Nothing. Litigation. You know, the people have to start really scrutinizing folks in our state that run for office. They have to, I'm not ready to quit this fight. You know, if you guys, as a county commissioner, you know, everything that Cliff says, and I'm thinking, he's right, it's right. You know, we're spending money that's just, you might as well go out in the street and start pitching it in the air, you know. And it's a quagmire. Where do you go for litigation? Who do you go to get help? You know. So, but I'm not ready to quit the fight. So I will tell you this, you know, impeach me, throw me out of office, because I'll be the head of the line to fight Fish and Wildlife Service, to fight anybody that wants to reintroduce wolves. I'm going to speak out against it, do every sensible possible thing I possibly can. I'm going to encourage folks to stand up. You know, you may not have a cow, you may not be a rancher, but I guarantee you, if you like riding a four-wheeler, if you just like going out and picnicking, the day's coming that they want you out here. They want to control it. So anyway.
Mr. Chairman, I will say one thing, as far as the county, you know, having a hard time, the county can't do everything. What the county has done is more important than you can really ever imagine, and that is to build its own body of scientific evidence, you know, about these wolf kills. The county has been doing that. The county has received an Inspector General's report saying how corrupt the system is, and this body of evidence, if we have any hope, is going to help us. I mean, that's what's going to get us through, is what the county has been doing for 20 years. And, you know, I'm not saying it's a golden bullet, but it's sure going to help us.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things that really chaps the hell out of me is when I go to the roundhouse and somebody says, "Oh, Catron County, you guys are the crazies. You think these folks are crazy? You think Cliff's crazy? You think Anita's crazy, or Adrian?" You know, and it really bothers me a lot, you know, that because we speak out and say, you know, well, there may only be 3,700 of us, but we stand for it. Thank you, we'll move on. Question?
Just to Cliff's point about litigation is, I mean, I've read the rules, and there is no end game. The when we're done putting the wolves out there is so nebulous. And so, I mean, if there's going to be litigation, that would be another thing to attack is, look, let's have some credible, definable end game, not this nebulous, oh, it has to be Arizona and Mexico and New Mexico. I mean, the way they've written the rules, there is no end game.
And they'll change the rules.
Well, what I'm saying, if we're going to litigate, let's throw that in the pot.
It's going to keep going. This is just like the Department of Energy.
Census program, go ahead.
What about the genetic diversity of these animals? They keep saying that they're Mexican gray wolves, and I've had chats with the people that are making these bait stations and stuff, and they said that the black ones are more related to the dog. So if we use our own verbiage against them and saying these are Mexican gray wolves, well then prove it to us.
I know, the only thing I can tell you, I can't answer your question at all, maybe somebody can, but I know that there's a lot of study out there on the DNA, and it sort of seemed like that ran into a wall. There were people that wanted to take that. I know the original fellow that went and trapped it, Percival, was brought to the surface, and he said that they were not a pure strain, that they had a lot of other things. So I think, you know,
They're not.
I think that's for bigger, better, smarter minds than,
Should they have to prove it?
should
They have to prove it? Either with the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, it's on their proclamation.
I think they should. I would agree with you, but it doesn't matter today. That's, you know, it's something to think about, something to write somebody about. And to the powers that would be, it would be frustrating. Census progress.
There's been, the census progress is very slow in Catron County. And our goal is not to be the number one poorly reported location in the nation, although we are number one in something. But there are several ideas going around on how to help out the census. And one of them is to maybe have computer stations set up during a time like when they're doing community meetings of some sort, of any sort. Maybe even furnish a meal or have a barbecue or something, and just do the census work there, so people don't have to go out to somebody's house, or if somebody who lives out there doesn't want them coming to their house, they can come out and do that work there and it'd be done. So there's several things we're working on, but and if anybody's interested, we definitely they need more people to sign up as census workers.
One of the things that I'd like to point out, I know the county likes to keep the government out of their business, and I totally respect that. The census is not shared with the FBI, the marshals, ICE. It's not shared with anybody. It is kept confidential. And as much as I hate to say it, some of our funding is dependent on the numbers that we get back from the
Exactly.
census.
This last time we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years because of that. And it's the way it is. I'm not saying it's right, but it's the way it is.
It's the way that it is, and I'm trying to find my notes from the census meeting that I went to, and of course I can't find them. Catron County lost a lot of money because we didn't fill out the census. It's not, the data's not shared with anybody, and I wish that we could get past that in Catron County. It's not shared with law enforcement, it's not shared with ICE, it's not shared with the FBI, so if for some reason you're hiding out in Catron County because the law is looking for you, they're not gonna find you because of the census. But we do need to have that census filled out. It also affects redistricting. Our population is low. If the census continues to show that we're low, we could lose Gail as our representative, and we'll get, who's the representative in Silver City?
Rudy Martinez.
He'll become our new representative, or we'll get a representative from Gallup or Grants
Gallup.
area. So it's really important as far as having the good representation, and we have a great representative and a great senator fighting for Catron County. If we don't do our best to fill out the census, when they redistrict, we're gonna lose them. And then we're really gonna be up a creek without a paddle.
Are they looking for volunteers, or are they hiring?
No, they're hiring.
$16.50 an hour.
Yeah.
I've begged people in Downell to apply for it, but nobody wants to work. I mean, it's not that you take the census to somebody's house. If they're there, you give it to them, and then you come back later to pick it up, right? You don't go over you don't do the census with them like they used to do in the past, so they're not.
Unless they
gonna do
request
business.
it.
Unless they request assistance. If they're, and then you go back in a couple of weeks to pick it up. If nobody's there, you leave it on the doorstep with a note, and you go back later. I mean, and they pay you for the mileage, and they pay you for your meals. I mean, it's a win-win for somebody looking for temporary employment, but you can't get anybody that wants to apply.
And just another thing so that people understand too, you can just work within your zip code. You don't have to work
Yeah.
throughout the whole county, just within your zip code.
So
And in your own time frame.
where do they apply?
Online.
Online or talk to.
I can get you that info.
Okay.
It's around town too, the signs.
I think the most thing they're afraid of to be out there doing the census is because people live in and, you know, way in there and like say mangas, you know, they come out with rifles,
Oh, yeah, and
pistols, you
there's
know,
a
I mean,
reason
there's,
people,
that's why I wouldn't do it.
There's a certain area too, I looked at the map, like, I think in the back of the Criswell, which nobody wants to go back to the Criswell, they're gonna mail them the packet. And not everybody's gonna have one hand delivered. There's an area that is gonna be mailed to them. So you may not have to go to Mangus because of where it's located. They may
Well, I'm
have
just
these
saying
mailed.
that place because it's in, you know,
I know that that's
out
a
there
fear.
in the middle of nowhere, so. I'm
I
just
get
saying
that that's a fear, we have that all the time.
but if you know of anybody that even has questions, you can direct them to me, I'll get them the answers. Anybody.
I think another way would be to have a Saturday afternoon hot dog deal in different places to encourage folks to come out and get some free food.
And I actually have funding for that through the census.
Bill talked about utilizing it during food fair. When food fairs opened up and people are coming to get their food, then
Have a barbecue.
tell them you can't get your food until you fill this out.
Anything else on census? If not, we'll move on. Retiree healthcare concerns, possibilities.
Cliff brought this up, and we have been working to get an audit. You have to get an audit done by an outside company. And we're on hold from this company that they've directed us to in Arizona to do the audit. But in the meantime, I've been visiting with the coalition of counties representatives, and we might want to have a meeting with them and get some of these outside viewpoints, because Leandro, maybe I'm saying the name wrong, he used to be a county manager in Taos. But anyway, now he works for the coalition.
You mean the association?
The association, yeah. And he said that he would be a bit worried because the retiree healthcare for para is the one that's in the worst shape. And he said you might do better to look at maybe doing supplemental stuff, because it might not be worth the buy-in. He said that's the one outside retiree healthcare thing that is in by far the worst shape. So there's some things, and Cliff, I'll visit with you about that.
Are you talking about Santiago?
No, I know he just started last year. Anyway, and I might get a phone conference with him. But anyway, we're looking
You gotta
into
find
it.
out what the buy-in would be.
Right, no, but we can't tell until after the audit, the buy-in, but the buy-in could be $500,000 plus. So that's where we're at, we're kind of on hold on that.
What would our time frame be? Would we know something about?
Well, I was hoping to know something by this meeting, and I haven't even got a commitment from them to do the audit. Yeah.
So,
But on the other hand, we cannot act on it or do something until funding would start coming in from the wind farm project.
so if we took the time to actually go and just see the Association of County contact and sit down with.
Might even can get him to come out to do a work session with us.
Yeah, I'd like to really try and do that, so at least we know the other side of it.
Okay.
If Anita and Cliff are willing to do that.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I already covered E basically with the funding.
The legislating one.
Yes.
Okay.
That's done.
Real quickly, would you just give us a rundown? I know Gail told us some of the things that we were going to receive.
We've applied for funding to put in heating systems, utilizing, spent oil, that we have here.
Right.
Heating systems for, the reserve and the Camado,
Right.
Ranger districts, never mind Ranger districts.
Yeah.
Road district, facilities. Putting in a new fuel, distribution system and Camado, a card system like we have here. Some improvements on the courthouse that have been approved for the roof and the boiler system. And also some more funding for equipment for the road crews.
Okay, so that was some of the things that Representative Armstrong was hopeful for. as she
Yes.
was discussing with us. Questions?
I'd like to point out, she got more for she allocated more for Catherine County than she did for Valencia County.
And just for the sake of it, didn't she also slap Gabe on the back and say he'd gotten?
He's did a very good job, yeah.
You better. I will send him back to that bicycle and that basket working for his daddy and Hurley. All right. Question about legislating. We'll move on. Cost increase for inmate detention, Bernalillo County, Illinois.
Mr. Chairman, this goes directly with action item A, so we could just refer to that as action item A if you'd like to, or if you'd like to have a break before we go to action items.
I will. So if we're gonna do that, let's have about a 10-minute recess. Back in order. Sorry I took so long. We're at action items now, is that right, Bill?
Yes, sir.
That's where we're at. So consideration of approval of Bernalillo County Detention Center agreement.
Mr. Chair.
Hey, Ian, come back here, have some fun with it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is
Sorry.
the agreement that Bernalillo County has sent out to all the counties. This is their agreement that they're saying, if you're going to keep juveniles in Bernalillo County, this is their cost. And so, I'm not saying we should keep juveniles there, but, the places where we're being able to keep them are very limited now. And this is what you would call a contract of adhesion, it's either take it or leave it. So I would suggest that we approve it, just in case in the future we need to send somebody there, but try to do our best to avoid, because the costs are astronomical.
And that's just for the juveniles?
This is just for juveniles.
How often do you use the Bernalillo Juvenile Detention Center, Sheriff?
As little as possible. It's not frequent.
They about broke the bank last time.
Yes, they did.
And then it'll be even worse, but
And once you get a juvenile, you can't get rid of
Well, I move to approve the Bernalillo County Detention Center for the juvenile inmates.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
it. All set.
Got a motion and a second?
Discussion.
Question on the floor.
Could you also designate Bill to sign that because they're requesting the county manager's signature?
So, we need to back up here.
So I will amend my motion to approve the Bernalillo County Detention Center Agreement for Juvenile Detention individuals with the authority given to the county manager to sign on behalf of the commission.
I'll say that.
So I now have an amendment, and I have a motion to the amendment, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Ian. We'll let you go.
Fix that correction line item.
Move numbers around, it's easy.
Right.
B, consideration of approval of purchase of new fair building addition.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, you have a pile of papers there that have quotes, but the one that is important is the last one we received is, and I've got that right here, So you really don't have to look at those quotes if you don't want to. If you'd pass this to me, please. This quote is dealing with, from Mueller. The quotes range from $57,000 to, I think, $75,000. And the $57,845 from Mueller is by far the best price. And we'll ask for you to approve that. This is money that's coming from legislative funding from last year. The money is there and available and ready to spend.
So, this is for the Fair Building?
Yes.
I would like to request that if there's any money left over, that the commission office contact the Fair Board to make sure that they're aware that there's money left over before it's sent back. If that's at all possible. Of course, I know that anytime we're building something, there's never money left over.
Well,
But should there be money left over?
There is money left over, but we're going to need that for the cement work that goes along with the building.
Okay.
But the guys did a very good job of going out and finding the bids from Mueller, Rhino, and I can't remember what the other one was, Armstrong. And they did a very good job. It's a well-planned building. In one of those, you'll see that there's a drawing of the
Yes.
building. What it does, it doubles the size of the covered area of the fairground. They're getting a lot of bang for the buck. And would you guys like to add anything to that?
Any questions? This is for the building.
This will purchase the building.
Purchase.
So
Oh, this is the picture.
Yes.
And then, once the building's purchased, will they go out to bid to have a contractor erect it, put it up, pour concrete, do that? Or what's gonna happen after that?
We're gonna put it up.
Who is where? That always scares me. The board, the fair, go ahead.
So the plan is that the Fair Board will coordinate that with the county, using the county equipment, and Jerry as the lead on that project. And then we will assist him on making sure that we get it up and in place. And so that'll be the Fair Board with volunteers working along with the county to do the work. And as far as the money that would be left over for that, that would be also needed for the cement that will need to be for all the pillars that will be coming up. It will not be a cement slab, it will just be pillars sitting on cement. And it'll basically double the size of the building that's there now and move the bleachers and the middle ring under so that everybody is sitting under the shelter instead of half in the rain, half out. And then one portion of that in the middle will be closed in, and you can see that in your drawings, and that will be for the poultry, and that's to replace the building that we have now, that Quonset hut that we're getting rid of, and that'll be for chickens and poultry, and rabbits. So we'll have a little bit of electric work to do as well, and we'll work with that, and we'll have to disconnect the power to that barn, and then once the new addition adds on, then we'll replace that.
And you guys just happen to know an electrician.
We do.
Okay.
So, when they're putting up this building and it's legislative, can we use volunteers to help? Or is there some restriction that we can't use volunteers?
Of course we can.
You gave me the answer I wanted to hear.
Mr. Nance, what do you think? Don't want to say.
I think you better start getting to work.
All right, that's what we're in here. Thank you, guys.
A lot of
And I think this is great. Appreciate y'all taking this on.
All right, now, gotta approve it.
Move to approve, who was the,
The Mueller building
Mueller?
at 57-8, oh, I gave it to, you've got it, I don't have it.
okay, over here.
57.
I move to approve the purchase of the new fair building with the award being given to Mueller. And if there should be any signatory authorities on behalf of the commission, I ask that we grant that to the county manager.
I got a motion to approve the Mueller 57-845-60, that they be awarded this, and that the authority be granted to the county manager for all signatory things. Do I have a second?
I'll second
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
that. Aye.
Done deal. Consideration of approval of letter opposing current action of state wildlife program.
That just goes back to the discussion that we had earlier regarding wildlife services, and this letter will be sent to Jeff Whitty with have you written that yet? 'Cause I know.
I've started it. At Socorro County, Commissioner Han went to Socorro County at its meeting on Monday and requested that the Socorro County Commission also join this letter. So if you all approve the letter, and I would request that the chair be delegated to sign the letter on behalf of the commission, but it would be joining with Socorro and Sierra County in registering these complaints.
Consideration and approval of letter opposing current action of state wildlife program. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
That is for the chair to sign as well.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration of approval of resolution 050-2020, opposition to the red flag gun ban.
And Mr. Chair, members of the board, we discussed this a little bit. We discussed this a little bit earlier. However, what we have in front of you is a resolution that we've prepared to oppose this bill. As soon as it's passed, I hope that we can get this emailed up to our representatives, since it's hot on the floor right now. But we've discussed some of the problems with it. But even with the Legislative Council Services own report, it explains that basically it places undue burdens on the judiciary, that it raises other constitutional concerns. For instance, what if you are an individual living, you're a roommate with one of these people and he's ordered not to have any guns whatsoever. You are then placed on, you're then placed on that list as well, and your guns are going to be taken away without any due process, which is even less than the due process that they're not affording here. The other thing it does, it's particularly difficult on indigent people. If you're charged with a crime, of course you get a public defender, but in this situation, if it's a civil administrative matter, you're having your constitutional rights infringed upon and have no right to counsel. So if you're indigent, you're going to have a much harder time with it. And
You can't even sell your gun.
no.
So I'm gonna get money for it.
And the other point is, you're having your constitutional rights infringed with an ex parte order, which is just fundamentally violates the 14th Amendment as well as the Second Amendment. So there are plenty of reasons to oppose this, but those are just a few. Commissioner Han brought up a very good one that New Mexico Association of Counties, that our representative there brought up, and she's she's a super liberal lady, and she even brought it up and testified to it, the fact that it will also, Grace Phillips, will increase the liability that the Sheriff's Department is going to be faced with, because, well, what if the Sheriff's Department doesn't act? Well, we're going to then receive, tort claims and litigation based on that, and that's going to increase our insurance premiums. So there is a no-win on this bill.
So it's a 90-day bill trying to get pushed through on a 30-day session, so our governor.
Absolutely.
Any questions or remarks from
I think this should be sent to all of all the House members, if we can get it in before they debate this on the House floor, but I can't find on the website when they're supposed to debate it.
Well, I would suggest in that case, Mr. Chairman, that if you approve this, that you all sign it right now, and then maybe Linda can go and start emailing it, since it may be happening as we speak.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to pass resolution 050-2020, opposition to red flag gun bill. Motion carries. So we'll sign this.
Yeah, sign it right now, Mr. Chairman, and okay. Just one copy is fine.
Clerk, will you sign it?
And then Sherry's gotta work her magic.
Okay. Sherry's.
So it's item number 24 on the House debate that started at 10, or it started 10:30. So I think we have time to get it in if we,
So can we take that and email it before Sherry does her thing? with the
Absolutely, do it, yeah, do it now.
Okay, so Linda, if you wanna take that and then bring it back to Sherry after you get that copy and send it to the legislature. Linda will work her magic and we'll once again be Catherine County first at it.
Consideration of approval of resolution 048-2020, second quarter financial report.
Don't look at me, that's not me, that is the treasurer's department.
Is it, what's behind your green sheet right there?
is that the one with the negative balances that I clicked?
What does it say up at the top? Does that say recap or second quarter?
Recap.
Okay, she didn't send it.
Okay, so you don't have a copy of the. You don't have a copy of the financial report, so.
So we need to table this?
Yes.
I would, yeah.
I move to table the resolution 040-2020, second quarter financial report due to the fact that we don't have it to look at.
All right.
It still have time, still have,
November,
I'm sorry,
October,
what?
November, December.
Is this the second? What is
it
it?
says the second quarter.
Second quarter,
October,
so,
December.
yeah, October, November, December.
It's supposed to be in January.
And more than likely, it's been approved by the DFA, you just don't have
This has been sent in and it's been approved.
it. Yeah. You just don't have it in front of you.
Why are we okaying it now?
I don't know why it's.
I don't like signing stuff that's already been sent off. I mean, just for the record, that's kind of a Nancy Pelosi, let's pass it and then sign
well,
it.
I had it on the board and this may be a miscue from me, from Connie, I don't know. I'll check out.
So I have a motion to table resolution 048-2020, second quarter financial report. I have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
So we'll table. And Mr. Green, could you?
I will check in to see if I screwed that up or if Connie did.
Okay. Consideration of approval of resolution 047-2020 PWI program.
You should have copies of that.
Okay.
And we deal, both, the next three measures deal with the DWI program. These are yearly things that we have to approve
Right.
for the program, correct, Heather?
Correct.
And nothing has changed from what you normally do, has it?
No, it hasn't. The funding this year, we are, it's increasing by almost 10,000, it's 73,000 in distribution.
And then I'm going to apply for 25,000 in grants, so the program will have a little over 100,000 to work with. We have been working with different things in the program. We've assisted 5 clients in fiscal year 20 into getting into long-term treatment. In December, the program produced its first newsletter, and the newsletter was sent to every mailbox in every zip code in Catron County. And at the affiliate meeting during the legislative conference, the county was complimented and acknowledged by the DFA Bureau Chief for the innovative idea. We ended 2019 without any DWI arrests. I will be approaching both the Reserve and the Home Motto schools, offering a lockdown for graduation. With the assistance of District Judge Reynolds, the program is moving ahead with the drug court. And the drug court is an alternative to incarceration. And what it does is for high-risk, high-needs people, and there's a team of individuals that work together with the offender, and we get them into therapy. We work with them on getting a job. We work with them on their life skills. And if they do relapse, it isn't automatic going back to jail. You know, we have steps before we send them to jail. And Judge Reynolds has been pushing for this. We're going to do it via video conference through the magistrate court. They're going to install that. And this is also going to be innovative in that we're going to use telehealth out of Sierra County for the people, so they can continue to have their jobs and everything, and they can do the telehealth from their computer or their Facebook Messenger. They've been able to work with the therapist after hours, and if they do have a crisis, they can contact their therapist via. We're also starting, the Supreme Court has handed down a motion that every county has to have a team for improving the county and community response to those with mental illness. And this is to keep the people with mental illness out from circling and circling and circling through the criminal justice system. It's to offer an alternative that we can get them therapy, we can get them help. It takes a burden off your jail, is what it does, because we're getting them therapy, we're getting them housing, we're getting them medication to keep them out of the problems. It's just, the Supreme Court handed it down. Each county will have a team, a response team, and these response teams are going to, they've been picked and appointed, and they will be going in April to Buffalo Thunder, and we're having a 3-day training period there, and then it will be implemented. So it's to help them get out of the criminal justice system, because we know they're really not high-profile criminals. It's just their mental illness keeps them trapped in the situation. And I would like to thank you for your continued support of this very important program. And I would also like to thank Mr. Green for providing the program with the old assessor's card. It's been a real benefit for me. So, thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And I would just ask that you approve this so I can send off the application. Thank you.
I do have one comment I want to make. I was listening to, I can't remember what committee it was on Tuesday. They were gonna, I think the bill was charging the DWI offenders for their interlock if they break it, or if they steal it, or if it gets stolen, or if they just take off. And Representative Eli he was against it, but he made a comment that, why are you gonna charge them for this when there's indigent money for them to buy the interlock? And I didn't know that if you get charged with the DWI, that there's indigent money for it.
There is indigent money, but they don't pay all of it. Most interlocks are installed for free. The company does. They will pay $50 towards their interlock license, which costs $93. The cost for an interlock per month is about $79. And what the indigent fund pays is $47 of that. So it helps. But they don't get a charge. If they keep it their entire 12 months, there's no charge to take it out. If they want it removed early, it's going to cost them $300. So but there is indigent money out there. We fund it, actually, we fund part of that indigent money out of our DWI with our excise tax too.
I can't remember if that one passed or not, but they were looking at.
But if they break it, it should be their responsibility.
There was some bill about the ignition interlock, I really wasn't paying that much attention to it.
But it is, you know, there's a huge controversy with the marijuana and how they're gonna detect that. That's gonna be huge in the future. Because if they are under the influence of marijuana, you know, like now we can give them a breathalyzer and we can determine, you know, at what point they are under the influence. But with marijuana, what is that point? We've never set that
There's no
standard.
threshold, there's no.
There's no threshold, there's no standard, there's no how many you know, we can't do blood tests anymore because that's a violation unless there's a felony charge involved. They have, my program manager sent me a little article on, there is a company that is trying to produce a kind of breathalyzer thing for marijuana that will detect if they have used marijuana in the last 2 hours, but it does not indicate how many nanograms they have. You know, we don't have that. Marijuana is a plant. It isn't like we go to the Jack Daniels factory and every bottle has a certain percentage of alcohol in it. Marijuana is a plant and every one of them is different as far as its THC level. How could you say, well, we can smoke 2 joints? Well, we don't know how much potency is in this. You know, it may be low, it may be high, we don't know. So how are you ever going to implement? And drug recognition experts, to get them into court is just phenomenal cost, you know. And our officers have not been trained in drug recognition, most of them. There is a team that has, but not every officer is trained in them. So they're opening a big door if they pass it.
All right.
I move to approve resolution 05020, whoops, not that one. 047, 2020 DWI program, item F, and MOU item G, and item H, approval of statement of assurances for local DWI grant and distribution program.
So I have a motion for F, G, and H, DWI program.
All second.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
So we've got, thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
I appreciate your, you know, it's nice to have someone come with information about marijuana. You know, I spent a lifetime around that, and I have a close friend who he was really, actually he was an officer in Norman, and his teenage boys who were probably about 12, 13 years old, you know, he openly smoked it with them. Both boys, by the time they were 21, had extreme disabilities because the brain's developing with young people like that. And so, you know,
It affects brain development, and Betty Ford Hospital has done a study on it, and if they heavily smoke it, it can give them psychosis.
So it aggravates the hell out of me that somebody like Ortizo Pipino, who's a representative there, can go in there and say, oh, no, we're only gonna let 18 years of age and older get a hold of this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. And I think they take a lot for granted. You know,
They're not.
alcohol. I was a bad drinker for a long time, and I never could understand why people would say something like, hey man, you don't need that 30-pack to have fun. I think, what's the matter with that guy? But you know, when I had to quit, thank God, I don't miss alcohol. We don't need none of this stuff. We can have fun, we'll be fine without all of it. That's the way
I had a client, just before I came down here, we were talking about gateway drugs, and he said they can preach all day long, but he said, I can tell you, marijuana is a gateway
Sure,
drug.
absolutely.
He said, I started at 11 drinking alcohol, and he said, I moved into marijuana, and then I wanted the bigger kick, so I moved into meth.
In the
So-
profession I was in, Debbie, I have a bunch of friends who are dead.
Mhm.
And it all started there.
Oh, yeah, and I have a guy that has been clean for 3 years, but he's 50, 5, and when he went to the doctor, he says you have a heart of an 80-year-old because your heart has been rushing so long on that meth. Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Consideration of approval to switch to in-house payroll program utilizing Triadic Systems. Boy, that's a mouthful.
Mr. Chairman, if you guys, it should be on the last page of your, one of the last pages of your handouts. We did a lot of talk with Triadic, and we really think that this will work. We can always go back if it doesn't work, but we're actually going to save money. We're going to be able to work within better time constraints for our treasurer's department as well as finance. And Lou is she's really gung-ho on wanting to do this, and I don't see a reason not to try it. So I would push that you allow us to switch and do the Triadic system. It will save us money.
Well, if we do switch back to doing it in-house, then Lou doesn't have to go in and fix para,
Right.
which that has to be time consuming for her.
She has to do it on an individual basis for everyone.
I just want to point out that the red is what Lou, everything in the red is what Lou already does. The black is just what the payroll company does, but everything in red, she's already doing. So you can see, she's
pretty
doing.
much doing it anyway.
No, this one right here.
Everything in red.
Everything in red is she's already doing, so it's, I mean, she's like, 85%, 90% already there.
So it doesn't make any sense to pay the payroll company $8,000 to $10,000 a year when Lou is pretty much doing it all anyway.
Pretty much. Pretty much, and this is one of the problems we have with the treasurer's department wanting things at a certain time and stuff. We're constrained by the payroll company, and Lou takes flack for that. This gives her more time to utilize to get things in with better timing. How many more times can I use time?
But Lou's basically duplicating, I mean, she's triplicating, yeah, she's having to re-enter in stuff, and so it's like just enter it one time. You know what I mean? If she does the payroll, if she's entering it one time, instead of having to go through this process of sending it to payroll sending it back, then she has to re-enter it into our system, and it's just, it's kind of ridiculous.
I have no problem with this, I don't know if you guys do, but it's smart man.
Oh, she's gonna have to do all the reports. I guess that's about all she's not doing is reports to
And I believe,
Feds
Mr. Chairman, I believe that in Triadic, it can be set up, those reports are run. It's kind of along the same lines like the reports that Connie does, the reports that I do. I do the taxation and revenue reports myself, and it just consists of going into the taxation side, and it's, you're clicking on drop downs and putting in the amount and stuff like that, and then it generates, so, and I've offered to help her, look at that side of it and help her with that, but I do believe that Triadic can generate some of these reports.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Consideration of approval for Horse Mountain grant application process, equipment purchase.
This is just equipment that they, regular equipment purchases for the Horse Mountain Department.
Is it
They're applying for a grant through the Firehouse Subs Corporation. They have to have all of the documentation. It has to be approved by the county. That documentation has to go along with their grant. Whether they get it or not, I don't know. Yeah, it is, because they their process states on their website that they usually only go within a 50-mile radius, but they want to try. I mean, they do offer sometimes to rural volunteer fire departments. It's very rare, but I mean, they're trying.
Did you get any paperwork from Jeffrey for us to look at?
Did he not? If not, I have some. Do you? Did he
I did.
send? Okay, I do. I can go print it out and get it to you.
Because if we need to sign something.
Yeah, I will get it. I will go see what he has sent, because it was my understanding he had sent it to you, but I'll go look.
I just thought we'd have stuff in here to sign.
I think it's just a letter, but let me go look.
Okay.
We're gonna move to the
Okay.
next one, and we'll come back to this, if that's all right. Consideration of approval of resolution 022-2020 GRT, move to corrections funds.
We held off on this last December to after the first of the year. This is just moving the ambulance fund, the GRT money from the ambulance fund to the corrections fund.
Move to approve.
Second?
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, aye. Consideration of approval of resolution 049-2020 budget adjustments.
At this time, we have no budget adjustments. That was just in there in case we had a last minute one, but as I've stated, we're gonna be doing it on a quarterly basis. So we will be back with this same resolution in March.
And in there, will we be putting the correction fee into the positive? Moving money?
Yes, this GRT money that you just passed will be going in there, so that's gonna be a huge help. And then I will look at that and see what we have to move in, yeah,
Because it's negative.
yes.
Okay.
So we don't need to do anything.
No.
We don't even have to, you don't have to
No.
address it.
Consideration of approval of paras report.
That's probably the para report for the volunteers that Joyce should have been sent something. I know we have until March to get it all in and work.
The para reports is just the annual report that's due every year, and it requires the commission chair's signature. The departments have already done them. The only thing is they're not due till the end of March, and I gave them a deadline of now February, so I've only got about 5 of them. So if we can make it where, as they come in between now and March 11th, that we can get them signed. That way you could do it next month without having to do another consideration of approval. So as the para report.
Second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that takes care of that. Flood damage has been removed. Consideration of approval of PMS funding commitment letter for 2020/2021.
There's the copy of the letter. PMS would like to have this just as they prepare the budget for the coming year, because she has to present that. So all this is a commitment to saying, we're going to be doing the funding that we have already allocated. It's not asking for more.
Okay.
It's just putting in writing.
It's just putting it in writing, giving it to them.
And how much did we agree?
27,000.
That's right, 27,000. I move to approve the letter for PMS funding commitment.
Second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Is that hard?
Aye. So consideration of approval of PMS funding commitment letter for 2020/2021. Pass. Consideration to send letter of approval for Pony Express program to utilize fairgrounds, obtain permits, and have reserve post office be the starting point for the ride, Arizona, April 29, 2020. I've been waiting to hear all about this.
Me too.
This is something that they annually do. It's to the sheriff's posse over there. They wanted to start it from reserve this year and go that way. They usually do it in Arizona, and they just wanted us to be a part of it. this just allows them to, set up the route, if they have to apply for any, like with the state highway, or, just tells them that they have the county approval, and to use the fairgrounds the night before. It's, anyway, I'm sure if you wanna ride along with them, you probably can.
I move to approve the funding expense program to utilize the fairgrounds, obtain permits, and have the starting point in reserve for the ride to Arizona.
Got a motion? Need a second?
I'll say.
Got a motion and a second, consideration to help out the Pony Express program. Start at the post office. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration of approval to move FEMA building to airport to be remodeled pilot lounge office complex.
Remodeled as a, anyway, sorry about that.
So the gentleman, he's gone, Mr., what was it?
Gandelli.
Gandelli. I was hoping he would be here because he wanted to know why we're moving the FEMA building to the airport. We're not moving a FEMA building like he thinks. It's a building that FEMA sold to the county.
Right.
So we're just remodeling it. Just for the record, we're not part of that FEMA conspiracy.
It's not a FEMA building.
It's an old.
This is that double wide trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came from the, Sean was sheriff, and he had the idea to get these two buildings. He goes down to Las Cruces or wherever, some Air Force or Army, whatever it is, surplus, and they gave us the buildings, we just had to pay to get them moved up. So they're military surpluses, they're not FEMA.
So I think
Got
the
nothing to do
school
with
bought them.
FEMA.
There's nothing to do with FEMA on that one, but the
And we
school
were gonna
bought
set them up there
too.
and found out we couldn't set them up.
That's-
The electric didn't meet code.
It would have had to been rewired to meet commercial electric,
So
if the county used it. There's nothing wrong with the wiring, it's just not, it's not rated
industrial
commercial.
code. Commercial code.
So the commission gave one to the school. The school moved it up there and gonna use it as an apartment complex.
So it's really not a FEMA building.
So let me change the, approve
Well,
the motion to
But that's the
approve.
way Pete was describing it, and I didn't
Well,
like
you
it.
know what, somebody else told me FEMA, I didn't come up with that on my own.
Yeah, no, that's the way Pete was describing it, as a FEMA building, and I didn't argue with him.
Yeah. But
They're wanting to
if
pay
they're,
for
if they're
it.
gonna pay for it, if they're gonna pay for the movable and
Okay, what do
the
you
remodel, that's okay, but I don't. The reason, like, the county didn't wanna remodel it to use it because it would cost so much to completely gut that thing and rewire it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, was FEMA's gonna pay for this? Maybe that's the only reason why. Was it, who's gonna pay for the airport people?
It's airport.
Yeah, Pete Rail is the head of the aviation division now. He's wanting to, they've got this money and he's wanting to,
But I would ask you guys, if you pass that, it has to be under the auspices of, they're funding it.
yeah,
They're funding it. The county's not gonna pay to move it or remodel it.
yeah, they're.
Yeah, and it is a good building.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're gonna pay to move it and everything.
and if they're gonna do that, then fine with me.
So I move to approve the old military building to the airport to be remodeled as a pilot lounge / office at the expense of the airport, not the county.
Lucky you're going off.
All right.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the military building being moved to the airport with the,
Not on our expense.
not at the county's expense, all expenses incurred for it on the FEMA group, airport.
Airport group.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So that gets us to approval of checks and registers.
Move to approve checks and registers as presented.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the checks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And executive session?
Move that we go in.
Oh.
Just
All
going
right.
back to, I'm
Sorry
going
about
back to Horse Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Grant application right quick. From what I understand and what I see here, this is the whole shebang. All he's needing is your permission to move forward. There's nothing that the commission needs to sign. It was a note from Linda saying that it needed to be approved by the commission.
Consideration of approval of Horse Mountain grant application. The commission would give approval for the Horse Mountain.
request.
I move to approve the Horse Mountain grant application process. It will be a verbal approval as there is nothing to sign.
All set. Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So that gets us to executive session. So I need a motion to go into executive session. Roll call.
Move to approve, we go into executive session to discuss only those items listed on the agenda. Anita, District 1.
All set. Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.